Royal Blood are a British rock duo formed in Brighton in 2013. The band consists of Mike Kerr on vocals and bass and Ben Thatcher on drums. The band are known for the massive sound they're able to create as a two-piece. This is due in part to Mike's unique setup that runs his bass through a variety of effects, and both bass and guitar amps make him sound like multiple musicians, as well as Ben's great drumming. The two met as teenagers and were briefly in a band together called Flavor Country. At this time, Mike was playing keyboards. A few years on, Mike left England to travel, visiting Jack White's Third Man Records in Nashville, among other places. He eventually settled in Australia for a few months, where he began working under the name Royal Blood with a different drummer. When Mike got back to England in early 2013, Ben picked him up from the airport and the two decided to form a band. Having trouble finding gigs, the band would play open mic nights in order to get themselves out there. In the following months, the band were in and out of Brighton Electric Studios working on writing tracks. Warner Chappell Music caught wind of the band and they were signed. Shortly after, the company that manages Arctic Monkeys took on Royal Blood. This may explain Matt Helder showing up to Glastonbury that year in a Royal Blood t-shirt, despite the fact that the band hadn't even dropped their first single yet. I don't know how to explain Ben wearing a shirt of Matt wearing that shirt though. In November of 2013, the band released their first single, Out of the Black. The same month, it was announced that they would be opening for Arctic Monkeys for 2 shows at Finsbury Park in London. A pretty strong start for a new band. The first half of 2014 was filled with festival performances for the band, and on August 25th, their self-titled debut album was released. Royal Blood debuted at number 1 in the UK and hit number 17 on the Billboard 200. The reviews were mostly favorable, but some critics felt the songs all stuck too closely to a standard rock formula. Nonetheless, the album was nominated for the Mercury Prize and it sold very well. In 2015, the band won 2 NME Awards for Best Live Band and Best New Band. They also won a Brit Award for Best British Group, which was presented to them by Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page, who is a fan of the band. On June 16, 2017, the band put out their second album, How Did We Get So Dark? This album retains the hard-hitting riff-based tracks of the first, but does expand the sound a bit, as exemplified by Hole in Your Heart, which has Mike playing keys during the intro and verses. How Did We Get So Dark reached number 1 in the UK, matching their debut. In the US, it only went to number 25, still an achievement but behind their first effort. The album was received mostly positively, but not quite like the first album. Critics felt the band didn't progress enough creatively, which is a valid critique as the songs were very similar in style to the first record. However, if the band and their audience are enjoying the songs they are writing, there shouldn't be pressure to change their sound in order to please anyone other than themselves, especially as there was definitely some experimentation in the making of this record. Hook, Line, and Sinker demonstrates this, with Mike replacing the bottom 2 strings on his bass with guitar strings to achieve bends he couldn't otherwise. While there may not have been a big change in sound between these first 2 records, there is still room for the band to grow, even as a two-piece. The inclusion of the keys on How Did We Get So Dark shows that. And as one of the band's idols, Jack White, has proven with the White Stripes, a duo can change their music up and remain relevant while still keeping the core elements of their sound. Royal Blood are currently on a world tour, and if they're stopping near you, I'd recommend seeing them. I know I will be.